Today we're going to talk about Pray to the Devil.
Yes.
Celia,
Dun,
hit
dun,
me.
dun. So I recommended this film, and it was purely because I kept seeing it on the side of the buses. And I was like, oh, a new horror film. We should watch it. And then I saw one person on Instagram saying that it was really scary. And I'm clearly very influenced by social media. So I was like, we have to watch it. It's going to be so scary. So that's why we've chosen Pray to the Devil.
I've never even heard of it. I never saw
Really?
No, never heard of it until you told me about it.
I mean, I feel like I've seen the advert everywhere. Maybe you're just like, it's too rural. You just don't get anything.
Well, I think so, because we've still got posters on the sides of buses for Smile.
Yeah, you're out of date.
Yeah, we are about a good quarter behind everyone else.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen a new horror film yet on the side of a bus, but when it does, maybe Megan will be the next one. Or Meg? No, Megan?
Yeah, we need to watch that, yeah.
Yeah, we do. But anyway, Pray to the Devil. What were my thoughts? I mean, I thought that it was going to be quite similar to The Nun. And it turns out I was kind of right, I think. And I think a lot of the things I'm going to say is quite similar to what I said about The Nun.
Okay.
I really like the premise of it, that there's a school that teaches priests how to deal with exorcisms and possessions. I thought that was a really cool idea. And I like that it was kind of like a school and a training ground, you know, very reminiscent of like other fantasy books that I've read where, you know, you go and train to do something and you have to be all together and live together and, you know.
Like Harry Potter.
Kind of like, yeah, like Harry Potter. Yeah, there's just a really dark Harry Potter.
Yeah, or X-Men or something.
Yeah, like any of those ones where you kind of have to go to a school. So I was quite excited to see where it went with that because, you know, you find out quite early on that that's the case. But I have to admit, for me, this film didn't hit many marks on quality. That sounded really harsh. It was like a really good, not even a really good idea, a hint of a good idea that for me wasn't executed very well. Like, I personally didn't find it very scary. Did you?
Not in the slightest.
Okay, good. I thought I really set that up to be so mean. If you were like, yeah, I did.
It was horrific. It was scary how not good the film was.
That was the scariest part. Oh,
it's just a shame. It's just a shame because when the film started off, I thought the visuals looked good, the way it was shot looked good, the music playing, like everything felt like it was setting it up to be. I was thinking, oh, this must be one of them hidden gems that I'd never heard of. It must be a good movie. But I don't know, man. For me, where it lost me was the lead character. I just found her to be so unlikable. And especially at the beginning of the movie, she just had this kind of weird smugness about her and this kind of like I just felt like they wrote her to be some kind of like cool modern nun who's going against the nun system. And but to me, it just came across as very dislikable. And especially when I don't know, there was this one bit where she's in like a lecture or something and her teacher is talking to the class about, not everything's a ghost or whatever, sometimes her mind plays tricks on us. And then she puts her hand up and says, so are you disputing the fact that ghosts exist? And it's like, no, don't go there. Don't make your teacher. Your teacher did not say that. And it was just this kind of, but the film was making the nun character, the girl, I've forgotten her name, but make the girl out to be as if, she's the hero. She's right. She's going against the old traditions of the Vatican and nunneries or what, I don't know, whatever they do, that world. And I don't know, that kind of just from the beginning, like I just found her, I just could not relate to a very unsympathetic character. Wasn't bad with her.
Yeah, I think I agree. I don't think I was as not turned off, that's the wrong word, but like as critical of the character herself, but I see why you wouldn't be like warming to her, because she didn't have much, like the character itself, when you strip back, yes, she's a woman, which is great, yes, she is confident and she's trying to go against the system, but they don't really give her much else to work with. Like, she's not really, the whole traumatic childhood thing didn't really play out to me like it was part of the story. And I think this is my biggest issue with the film, is that there were so many threads that they never pulled together. So there was just different things things throughout. Like I literally wrote down some plot holes because I was like, why did they say that and then kind of never do it again? Like, they make this whole first half of the film about the fact that I think her name's Anne, like the nun, the lead character. Yeah,
I'm just calling her girl because I've totally disconnected from her.
The girl, that she's being targeted by all the demons and stuff because of her childhood. But then they kind of just move on from that. Like, she then leaves later because she's like, I can't do this, I've messed up. And there's no implication of any of the priests saying, well, we can't let you go because you're in danger. They're just like, okay, bye, like, have a nice life. Like, that was the whole point of why she was being targeted, was that she's in danger and she needs to learn how to protect herself, and that she has this special connection with people. And then it just, when after they do that, it's just like, well, all right, guess that's over.
Yeah. If relating back to what you said about the idea of the school, like where they got to go and learn and whatnot, I couldn't help feeling that they were trying to make this like an origin story for a series of movies. Like, so we found our hero, and she's been brought into this kind of, Men in Black type thing, but instead of Men in Black, it's like exorcists or whatever. And it just felt like there was a point where it felt like, oh, is this going to be each movie they'll be going to solve a different exorcism or something? Like, what makes her special is she's like this strong girl in what is typically a male, job or whatever. But then even that, it's just, everything just felt flat, and it wasn't a horror movie, it wasn't a mystery, it wasn't even an exorcism movie. Like that first exorcism where it's like that exorcism training bit when she first tries to exorcise the girl. That whole sequence felt like such a chore to watch, and it was just, they were recycling exorcism scenes from much
every
better
movie.
Stuff that had been done in the 70s in the original Exorcist. Like, I don't know, just the whole thing just
like
felt
the climbing
flat.
up the walls, the heads kind of cracking and stuff. And I was so disappointed because I was really excited when we figured out that they were in an exorcism school, that we were going to see multiple training sequences where they try different things, and you have really interesting, unique types of possessions. Like, this person's possessed by this kind of demon, which does this, and like, this is different because it's all about the words that they speak, or like different things. But then we literally just got, like you said, the rerun of the things that happen in every film. The one thing I did like, which even then was taken from Pan's Labyrinth, was the holes on the back of her hands when she puts her hands up to her face, and then like little maggots come out of it. I quite like that one. I was like, that's quite different. And actually the hair going in her mouth, I thought was quite cool, where they had to try and pull it out. I've never seen that
before.
But we're literally picking out the two things that were different about that exorcism, whereas everything else we've seen before. And in that scene, they leave the door open, which really annoyed me. They literally fling the door open and then try and exorcise her. And it's like, surely somebody in the crew would be like, hey, maybe for continuity, to make us feel scared, we should close the door so that we know that it's a threat. Like,
and also that whole sequence, there was no security around, there was, like, no form of protection. Like, what if this went horribly wrong, and you're willing to put these trainee exorcists just kind of in death's way? Just, I don't know, it's just,
and they didn't even have like a cool things that they could do to try and stop this demon from hurting them. Like, they had this whole like James Bond leather satchel of things they could use, and then all they did was say like, the power of Christ compels you, the power of Christ. It's like, couldn't you have thought of some cool things that you could do? Like, there's a specific necklace that if you get it round their neck, it like stops the demon, but it's really hard to get it around their neck. Or like, you have to,
some kind of task,
something that makes this, because all they're doing is standing there, like, not really even reading either. Like, they just stop because they're so scared, and it's like, come on, your job is to read while these things are happening. You would think that you'd be able to muster up enough courage to carry on reading.
Like the lead exorcist, the one who's training them, the bald guy, I've forgotten his name as well, but it would have been good if, because when he joined in at the end into the exorcism, like, even what he was saying was it didn't really affect anything. It's not like
No.
he swooped in and saved everyone. Like, it would have been good to see him, like, it would have been good to show how good he was at this.
Yes. Yeah.
And that the trainees have someone to look up to, but he seemed as ineffective as the trainees. And it was just a shame, because he was probably the one character I kind of liked in the whole thing.
Yeah.
I know his real name. I think he's Colin Salmon. He's a British actor, but I've totally lost who he is in this.
I mean, I was quite excited when I saw him because he's been in loads of stuff, actually. And I thought exactly the same thing. I thought he was going to be like the respected leader or the teacher figure that was going to help her figure out what she needed to do. But Anne just kind of does it on her own. Like, there aren't really many points where she's like, I really need your help with this. And he's like, this is what you've got to do. And if you don't do this, it's not going to work. They just kind of go off and do their own thing. And I feel like they could, it's so frustrating because there was something good in this. And then it was gone. I don't know. One of the things, and I have said this before, that makes me feel a bit iffy about these films is when they use mental illness and they say that they might be mentally ill or they could be possessed by a demon. And like those two things are really linked together. And it's like, you don't always have to use mental illness when you're talking about a horror film, especially as hammy as this one. Like, I find it less offensive when it's used really technically and really subtly and sensitively. But when you're putting it into a film like this, it just feels like they're just, adding things because of the sake of adding it and not really thinking about the fact that that gives off quite a bad stereotype of people who might be experiencing these things.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, I think you have to be a certain caliber of filmmaker or a certain caliber of writer if you're going to be touching sensitive subjects like that. If you're talking about, like, I don't know, just fantasy stuff, go wild, do what you want. But when it's stuff that is, when it's really sensitive and real people actually suffer from certain things, and if you're treating it like just whatever, like quite
just a plot point.
It's not even like they were disrespectful about it. It was more they were just very inexperienced and very
it felt unnecessary.
Amateur.
I think just like you said, a certain type of film can do it well, but I also think that they didn't really think through the implications maybe of what they were saying, because part of it is that she figures out that victims can invite demons in because they feel shame for something that's happened to them. And like, did nobody think that maybe that's quite victim blamey of like, you allowed this demon into you because you feel so much shame about the thing that happened to you, therefore you're now suffering because of this demon? And it's like, did you not think that comes across really badly? And it's not even like it comes to a resolution where they teach us that you shouldn't feel shame over something like this. Because
like
the example,
the moral,
the moral is that you shouldn't, because the end of this, and I'm talking about when Father, what's his name, Dante, his sister, goes through that exorcism. And she ends up committing suicide.
So it was all for nothing.
Isn't a lesson. There's no lesson of like, she figured out that she shouldn't feel shame for what happened to her. It goes the other way with it, and it's like they're just that actually like annoyed me to a point where I was like, I don't like the message that this film's giving out.
No, and it's a shame, because I thought that particular exorcism with the sister was actually a fair. Well, I don't, in this grand scheme of the film, I found that scene to be more entertaining than very pretty much all the other scenes. I thought it was quite good, especially with the baby trying to burst out of the stomach.
And that was different. It wasn't something we'd seen before.
It felt like there was more threat in that scene, especially with the ceiling fan blades flying around and stabbing everything. It just felt like there was more danger in that scene, and not horror, but like something could happen.
I agree. And actually, I have to admit that I like the idea of right at the end when the demon leaves the girl and enters Anne, that she has to have like an internal battle between herself and the demon, trying to kind of get it out. I like that idea of doing it internally. Again, I still feel like it falls short where like all she did was jump into some water in a holy well. Like nothing cool happened really.
But the idea was that cool. Final scene. I agree with you. Like on paper, sounds good, but I could not wait for it to finish. Like by the time that came, it's kind of like your third act is only as good as how you've set it up in your first act. And I kind of just went into this movie really not liking the lead character and being totally okay if she didn't make it out alive.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
nothing against the actress or it was or the performance. It was just the character I didn't like. I don't. I felt like I did have a chip on my shoulder about this film and how they kind of did the whole, there's this string of films, especially post Me Too, and I totally understand why it's happening. But where you see a woman go into a male-dominated field of work or whatever, and there's this kind of whole "you go, girl power" kind of thing, and I felt like they were trying to do that in here, but it was just so lame. Like it just was not very good. It was just I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but
I agree. And I think the reason why, in my mind, is that she didn't come across as the powerful hero of the film. Like I think if she had more control over the demons, like she was the only one that could get a demon out of a few people before this happened,
Yeah.
But she just comes across as somebody that's like a student and doesn't really have that much special about her. Like if, let's say there was a scene at the beginning where she was witnessing one of these exorcisms and it all goes terribly wrong. We have really cool like exorcism scenes and we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But there's a real threat because these priests are all getting hurt and she runs in and she manages to completely get rid of this demon, and they're like, wow, how did you do that? Like she would have that hero image to us where like she can do stuff that none of these others can do. But that kind of doesn't happen. She just goes along as another student that also doesn't really know what she's doing either. And therefore, why make it about a strong female lead if you're not going to give her the courtesy of being a strong female lead?
Yeah, or even I think even earning it, like she just kind of landed in this film, and it's like she just immediately had the power or the whatever, the ability. There was no. Sometimes I like a bit of trial and error in a hero's journey where they screw it up a few times. I mean, yeah, she did screw it up at one point, but there was no. I just didn't see that journey, that kind of build up to it, like where she kind of has some kind of mastery over herself or whatever, and it was all just a bit forced. And I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just weird because like she could exorcise this little, the demon from this little kid, but none of the other guys that had been training for ages or however long, even came close. And it was just
and also, to be honest, I don't really think that girl needed to be her daughter either. Like I don't really think
out of nowhere,
she could have had a daughter that she gave up for adoption, and then that's just something that plays into her character development. But I don't think it actually needed to have been the girl that's being exercised. It didn't. For me, it was like when Father Dante comes and tells her like she gave me this cross, and it was so obvious that it was like, oh, that's the daughter that I gave up. Like what a coincidence, kind of thing. And it was just like it just feels like there was so many points in the film that could have been scrapped, and they could have condensed this and made it into such a cool film. And I knew that I didn't like this film, I mean from the beginning, but I knew I really didn't like this film right at the end where they clearly set it up for a sequel by a cliffhanger where, oh no, the demon didn't leave and she's going to have to carry on. And my first thought was, oh, are we going to have to get another one of these films?
Funnily enough, it's funny you say that because that bit at the end when she's in the taxi and she sees the possessed person outside, and then the taxi drivers, out of the entire movie, that was probably the one scene I felt was actually put together properly, where it built tension, and I felt not scared is an overstatement, but I felt a bit of something.
Yeah, because it was different and you don't expect it, but it just makes you think, oh no, we're gonna have to have another one of these. Like they clearly think it's good enough for a sequel, and so the buses are gonna have Pray for the Devil 2 before too long.
More prayers for the devil. Pray for the viewer.
Pray for the viewer. I like that.